I'll now call upon J. Hayton from Elsevier.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Joe Hayton. I'm the publishing director for physical sciences, social sciences, and part of the engineering program for the Education, Research, and Continuity Division of Elsevier. What I'd like to talk about today is a couple of things. Share with you some information about what we learned about how researchers currently go about their information workflow and gathering the information needs, and then talk about some investments that Elsevier is making in the ScienceDirect platform to address the needs that the researchers have, especially some of the current needs that are being developed from these researchers. So to set the stage, let me start with a statement that probably should be non-controversial. We live in an age of information overload. I think we see that individually when we search for information on the web, and we can get thousands or millions of hits, and we have to spend time scrolling through that to find what we hope is the right information, and hope that it's accurate and reliable information as well. Researchers face the same kind of issues as they're trying to keep current in their particular discipline, and even more so now as research becomes more and more interdisciplinary to try to get up to speed with the information they need from other disciplines they might not be as familiar with. And the research we've done shows that to be true. About 44% of researchers look for articles outside of their immediate field, at least on a weekly basis. And 47% of researchers look to collaborate with people outside of their immediate field at least once a year. So again, quite a large need and quite a developing need, not just for their personal field of interest, but for related fields. And we know that when they're looking for this information, that they look to both journal content and books content. They find the information in journals and books very complementary. And journal articles meet a particular need for certain types of information. Book content meets need for another particular kind of information. And the slides here give a little bit of insight into what they look at when they are reviewing or reading journal article content, why they may be looking at related book article content, and the fact that they move back and forth between those two sources in many standard, in many cases even during the standard, the same usage, the same at the same time. I'll skip by that. So we have both qualitative and quantitative data that show that this is true. In any particular usage session, they'll be accessing information from both sources. So on this slide, back on that, you can see this part of the slide, some of the qualitative information that we've gathered talking to both end users and librarians about why or when they might want to access content from books. And on this side of the slide, you can see this fairly dense, detailed network diagram that shows the interrelationship of book content and journal content. The book information or the book sources are in green, the journal sources are in red. And I don't know how well it shows up on the slide, but there's a fairly dense spider web of interconnections between these two things, books and journal content, to show how often a particular user might jump back and forth between one source and the other. You have a slightly more detailed view of this. This is just for engineering usage. And you can see how the individual researcher here might jump from a particular journal into an engineering book to get more context, to get more breadth of information related to that journal article, and the width of these connections indicates the frequency that happens. So here we can see in some cases a researcher might start off in a biochemistry journal and go to information in an engineering book, or vice versa. Similarly, some of the bigger connections here are from material science journals to engineering books, and vice versa, from chemistry journals to books, from medical and dental journals to books. And each discipline has a similar sort of interrelationship between the two types of content. This is just a closer look at some of the engineering usage data that we have. So we know that they do this, but most systems aren't really well developed to support that kind of research. If a researcher or a scientist or even a student is reading a journal article and they realize there's something in them that they need more information about, usually they have to step outside of even ScienceDirect to do maybe a Google search or go to Wikipedia to find some quick information. And even then, they have to do a lot of that work themselves. They have to scroll through lots of information. They have to curate that information themselves and hope that they find the information that they're looking for. And hope that the information they find is reliable and accurate. So we would like to support this process a little bit better. So what we've developed that will be part of ScienceDirect, and we're rolling out starting in the third quarter of this year, are our new element called topic pages. So topic pages in the third quarter, we'll start these in neuroscience, life sciences, and biology. Shortly thereafter, we'll roll them out into several other disciplines, material science, earth and environmental science, and then the third stage will be all the other disciplines that we publish in. So these topic pages are intended to seamlessly interlink information between journal content and book content. So you can see an example here on this side of the screen if somebody is reading this particular journal article and they need a little bit more information about the term encephalitis, they'll be able to click on that and launch this topic page. These topic pages are free. They sit inside ScienceDirect, but they'll also be indexed on all the major search engines. So even somebody who's outside of ScienceDirect searching for a term, it's likely that a link to this topic page will surface in their web search, and they'll be able to click on that and go right into ScienceDirect from that search term. In fact, I think I have an example of that. Here, this I did yesterday, a quick Google search on the term pyramidal tracts, which is an anatomy term in biology. This came up as the 5th link in the Google search. Now this is just a pilot for us, so we haven't even launched these formally yet. So we feel like, coming up as the number 5 search term for a pilot project is really good. It indicates that this is going to be highly used. And when we launch this full force in the third quarter, our expectation is, especially as people search for fairly technical, detailed terms, it's likely that these search results are going to appear in the top 2 or 3 or 4 results of Google searches. So what's on the topic pages? They include 3 basic things. So at the very top is a quick definition of that term. So again, they were in the journal article, they wanted to learn more about a specific term, they click, very first thing at the top of the page, a definition of that term, taken from an Elsevier book source. So it gives them, very quick definition and context for the term they needed to know more about. Secondly, next to that is related terms. These related terms are surfaced using machine learning technology. We've developed a number of algorithms that can crawl through the millions of pages of book content that we have and identify terms that often show up next to these terms or related to these terms, and they're automatically populated in this related terms section. The initial rollout, the initial pilots of this, we had editors cross-check these terms against an internal source we have called the Omni Science Taxonomy to make sure that these were accurate and reliable terms related to the definition. And as time goes on, one of the advantages of machine learning, machines get better at recognizing the terms as they do more of this. So as time goes on, there'll be less human interaction in what shows up on these topic pages and more services from machine learning algorithms. They can click on any one of these links and it will then take them to another topic page specific to that related term. So you can see how they can get into very detailed information to get the full context of that journal article. I should mention also these Topic pages open in new windows, so they never lose the place that they're at in the journal article. They can always move back and forth between that window and back to the journal article they were working on without having to go back in their search or to find that journal article again. It's always still there on their screen. And then the third element of these topic pages are something we call relevant excerpts. So again, this is information that's surfaced through machine learning that says, oh, here's some information that's related to that term you just clicked on. You might be interested in reading more about these things from these sources. Many times they're directly related within the same discipline. Sometimes they come from other disciplines. And again, that's very advantageous because it's not uncommon that that person might want to know about some novel or new applications that they hadn't thought of before. Just on the plane flight over here, for example, on the computer, on the monitors in front of the seats, they had a brief demonstration. It was really about cloud computing, but the example they used was prosthetic design. And it turned out this mechanical engineer who was designing this prosthetic, it was for a Paralympic bicyclist. And he realized, not only do I have to design this for strength and durability, I have to design this for aerodynamics. Because this is a world-class athlete that needs all the advantages they can get. I can't put a big blocky leg prosthetic on there. I have to get something that's really aerodynamically designed. So they needed to reach out to an aerospace engineer to help them design this leg prosthetic. That's the kind of interdisciplinary research that's going on these days. And that's the kind of research we're helping to support here by making it much simpler to move between these sources and to surface these kinds of interrelated applications much more quickly. So these are the advantages we think that the topic pages will have. By the way, there's going to be a substantial number of these. I think the last I heard we were looking at almost 50,000 topic pages that are free on ScienceDirect. So this isn't just a couple of things that people will be able to access. It's a very robust new product that'll sit within the platform. So these are the advantages we see for this new feature. Seamlessly links book content and journal articles, provides quick definitions from book content to help these users understand and interpret scientific literature, provides authoritative and relevant overviews, especially for people that are navigating new areas that they might not know very much about. And I mentioned these other points as well. Gets them quickly up to speed, provides some fundamental knowledge. I won't repeat some of that information. So in addition to the topic pages, which is a new feature of ScienceDirect, we're working on some additional enhancements to the platform that will be available late this year and into 2018. Some of this is available in certain journal articles now. We plan on adding these to not just journal content, but book content as well. Enhancing the visualization of the information that's in the article in the book chapter by use of a tool called the virtual microscope, particularly useful for very high resolution images on slides and atlases where you need to zoom in and out of the image. You can do that with the virtual microscope without losing any resolution of the image. Other 3D viewers that allow you to do similar kinds of things. You can run animations as well as zoom in and out of the image that's there. Particularly useful for medical images, things like MRI, CAT scan images, where again you can get the detail without losing any of the resolution. In addition, we're going to reintroduce the MATLAB viewer, which had been available for a short period of time in journal articles. We're reintroducing that both for journal and book content. The MATLAB viewer will allow the user, for anything that has a MATLAB graphic, to interact with that graphic. Again, zoom in and out, rotate it, and in most cases, if the author provides it, see the data behind which generated that graphic, so that they can download that data and interact with that data for their own particular purposes or applications. And speaking of data interaction, some additional tools that we'll be adding to the ScienceDirect platform deal specifically with data. We've gotten a lot of feedback, you probably have had as well, and this is a big discussion topic in the research community. wanting access to the data that sits behind a lot of the analysis and a lot of the summaries that were in the content. So we want to make that more available and more usable to the reader. So we'll be providing tools, data interaction tools, again, both in books and journals, that will allow them to interact with a graph. If the graph's been put into the page, they'll be able to hover their mouse over that graph, for example, and rather than just see the line, it'll show the particular X and Y values that are on that particular spot on the graph. They will be able to access the data that sits behind that graph. You can see here there's how we're doing that with this particular type of graph. There's a separate tab here to access the data tables. Not only can you see those data tables then, but again, you can download those to your own laptop. You can interact with that data, change the data for the particular purposes that you might be working on. And we're always, obviously, hopefully this gives some indication of how we're always trying to invest in the platform, or trying to improve the features of the platform, or trying to make it more useful for the researchers who use this, and how we're responding to the needs that they have through some of the market research that we do, and how we're able to apply the information they give us to new features and new elements in the package itself. So that's a quick overview of what's coming on ScienceDirect for the rest of this year and early into 2018. I am a few minutes early. If anybody has questions, I suppose I could take those now, or we could wait till the end.
Thank you very much.